As always, you can find all the information you need about XRP and other cryptocurrencies on CoinMarketCap, and if you liked the video and want to see more like it, you can subscribe to my channel. Here you may see it. Significant XRP announcements. The appeal at XEH has a 10% chance of success. According to Ripple's chief legal officer, Chloe, the SEC has a mere 10% chance of succeeding in its appeal against the company. This is an outrageous claim. There has been a major turn in the ongoing legal battle between Ripple and the SEC, and this change will have far-reaching effects for XRP's future. This post will explain what this means and why it's making waves in the Bitcoin world. This article appears in XRP News. Let's examine it more closely to see what it says. There is a 10% probability that the SEC's appeal would be successful, according to the chief legal officer of Ripple. In a recent interview, Ripple's chief legal officer voiced serious concerns that the SEC would win the XRP case appeal. These odds, he implied, are nil. In addition, he hinted that Ripple is willing to pay the $125 million penalty to settle the dispute, suggesting that a settlement might be reached within the next 24 days. In his statement, Aldo Ortiz expressed his displeasure with the decision of the Securities and Exchange Commission to file an appeal, arguing that it would have been more prudent not to. However, he thinks it's totally unreasonable for them to do so, especially given the SEC's track record with crypto legislation. I should also mention that while it is not surprising that the SEC would file an appeal, it is crucial to remember that over 10% of appeals filed in the Second Circuit Court of Appeals lead to the overturning of lower court decisions. In spite of the appeal, he reiterated that the court's decision is unchanged. XRP's sales on the secondary market do not qualify as securities under current law. The U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission and Ripple have finally settled their 4-year legal dispute. A federal judge ruled that Ripple violated securities laws and ordered the company to pay a fine of $125 billion. The SEC is suing for about $2 billion in damages, and the penalty is just a fraction of that. It marks a major turning point in the protracted litigation. The CSE accuses Ripple of selling XRP unlawfully and files a lawsuit against the business in December 2020. Ripple wins. The court found that Ripple broke securities laws when it sold XRP to large institutions. Regarding sales to private investors through exchanges, however, the court did not identify any irregularities. The verdict was announced in July of the year 2023. This verdict cast doubt on the SEC's regulatory authority for cryptocurrencies, which sparked a great deal of discussion within the industry. Ripple was fined $125 and ordered to stop committing similar crimes in the future by a court order that was handed down last week. The decision that rejected the SEC's overreach signaled the end of the issue, according to Stuart Alderode, Ripple's chief legal officer. In addition to Ripple meeting the client's expectations, Alderode emphasized that the court's decision did not include any accusations of fraud or market manipulation. An appeal can still be filed by the SEC. At this point, the SEC can choose to appeal the decision. The ruling that Ripple's sales of XRP to private investors through exchanges were not illegal was a major loss for the Securities and Exchange Commission, according to the agency. Although this decision is seen as a major win for Ripple, the cryptocurrency industry is still facing a lot of uncertainty because of the potential for an appeal to reopen the question of whether cryptocurrencies should be considered securities. A coherent legal framework has been more difficult to establish due to the disjointed nature of the judicial process, and cryptocurrency companies are currently encountering ongoing regulatory challenges. A major new twist has emerged in the long-running legal dispute between Ripple and the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission, which started in the second part of 2020. This happened in early August when Judge Tortoise ruled that the company had to pay a $125 million punishment for violating multiple securities regulations. This was down from the $2 billion that the regulatory agency had originally requested. This figure represents a decrease of 94%. Others pointed out that the SEC might still appeal the ruling, even though others hailed the result as a huge win for Ripple and the end of the debate. The company's chief legal officer, Stuart Alderode, recently stated his conviction that such an action by the agency would not surprise him, but he did remind the crowd that the SEC secretary would be unable to challenge some of the most consequential court decisions. Things like XRP's status as a non-security and its trading on the secondary market as a non-security are examples of this. No amount of appeals by the SEC can change this fact of law. The likelihood of the regulator winning outright is modest, in Alderode's opinion. He contended that, on average, the Court of Appeals reverses the lower court's decision. in less than 10% of cases. It is our firm belief that the Securities and Exchange Commission would have significant challenges in any potential appeal in light of the careful and methodical way in which Judge Torres has addressed all of the issues raised by this case. The Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) should not lodge an appeal, in my professional opinion. I am not authorized to do this as the chief legal officer of Ripple. Is Ripple satisfied with the court's ruling? Also, according to Alderati, the company will pay the $125 million fine in cash, and the magistrate's verdict will be subtracted from its books. It was hinted at in a prior statement by Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of Ripple, that the cryptocurrency will not contest the fine. The CEO claims that the judge agreed with him that the SEC had acted too aggressively and that the agency would follow the rules. Thanks to this success, Ripple, the industry, and the legislation have all come out on top. He made the observation that the SEC's obstacles that had been affecting the whole XRP ecosystem were no longer present. Stuart Alderati, chief legal officer of Ripple, brought up the possibility of the U.S. Securities and Exchange Commission during a podcast discussion with securities law expert J.W. Verrett, display the appeals decision about XRP made by the court. Alderati remains adamant that XRP's status as a non-security will remain largely unchanged, despite his admission that an appeal is possible. Judicial precedent now recognizes the ruling of Judge Analisa Torres that secondary XRP transactions do not constitute securities. This would be the case regardless of whether the SEC decided to appeal. $125 million holds by Ripple. Earlier this month, Judge Torres delivered a final ruling in the Ripple case. The ruling mandated a fine of $125 million for the San Francisco-based company. Since the decision denied the SEC's broader effort to categorize XRP as a security in all contexts, Ripple has portrayed it as a success. Despite the fact that Ripple has been involved in a lengthy legal battle with the SEC, the fine is still extremely hefty. Some have seen this mixed bag of results as good news for the PRET. Cryptocurrency. You should not consider the data shown here to be trading advice. Any investments derived from the data shown here are entirely at the investor's risk. It is highly recommended that you consult an informed expert and do your own research before making any investing decisions.